Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe, Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me, Joel Fernino. Joel, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good, but I'm talking to a black screen. I don't know where you went. You're hidden.
I'm here. I promise I'm here.
Well, that's all right. I don't have to look at your face now. I'm just kidding,
I mean,
buddy.
I'm
just
that's
kidding,
a
buddy.
bonus for everybody.
You're beautiful. I'm just kidding.
There
Oh,
we
and
go.
now you're beautiful. I'm just kidding. I'm doing well. I think we're all kind of sad that the hockey season is officially over. But I'm happy that I can take the old crystal ball and say I had one more right prediction, and now it's in the closet waiting for next year.
I mean, that you did. Congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche, your 2022 Stanley Cup Champions. Joel, you had said Colorado in the series. I took Tampa Bay. And that series was that was a phenomenal Stanley Cup final. One of the better ones we've had in recent years, I would say.
Double. I took Colorado in 6. I never call the amount of games correctly.
There you go. So even better.
I'm telling you, dude, it's something about the Stanley Cup final. It rarely ever goes 7, and it pretty much usually goes 6, rarely goes 7. And I mean, I've seen one. I mean, the last one that went 5 was
the last two
Kings
went
at
5.
Rangers. What?
Well, the last 2 went 5. Montreal and
Tampa. Oh, that's right. They did. That's right. They did.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a sweep in a long time.
Yeah. That's a good trivia question. Who was the last team to get swept in the Cup final? I believe. Let's see. Would it have been maybe Devils Ducks? No, that one went longer.
Marty Brodeur would never have been swept.
No, I'm saying he swept.
Got it.
Looks like the last one maybe was 97-98, Red Wings over the Capitals.
Sounds about right. The late 90s Red Wings, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that team was an absolute powerhouse. The Russian 5 and just
But hey, man,
the non-salary cap era of the NHL put together some absolute wagons on the ice.
Just imagine if we didn't have a salary cap. That's a whole other episode. I'm not even going to. Let's make that a tease. Let's make that an episode.
Yeah.
What if?
Yeah, that's an off-season topic for sure. We'll do our own like when Marvel did the What If miniseries.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll do our own.
We don't always have to be news and straight to the point.
Yeah, we'll do our own What If episode.
But anyway, yes, congrats to the Avalanche. Congrats to a few of my friends I know who are Avalanche fans. They are all ecstatic, and I'm happy for them that they could experience. This is not a shot at you. I'm just saying I know the feeling, and there is nothing like watching your team win a Stanley Cup. No offense, Dan. Your team will do it. They're built to do it. But there's nothing like
they're building to do it. They're not yet built to do it, but they're building. They're moving very much in the right direction. I feel very confident in that. Bill Guerin and Judd Brackett are building a heck of a plan to get this all together. It's going to be rough the next couple of years, comparatively speaking, with the Parise and Suter buyouts and having like $12.7 million in dead cap this upcoming season, then $14 million change in dead cap the 2 years after that.
I understand that being rough, but again, now we're in the off season. We'll have our time to talk about that.
Oh, we will. That's a whole nother road. But you're right. Yes, Colorado really. I mean, the way that they have built their roster was not only built for success this year, but for sustained success.
Exactly.
You look at how the core players of that team are still in the younger half of their careers. They've built up an elite defensive group with Cale Makar, Devon Toews, Bowen Byram. Really, like, that is going to be a powerhouse defensive unit, and they still have more good players coming up through the ranks behind them. Alex Newhook is a guy who next season, I mean, he is a potential breakout player next season. He was a top 10 draft pick. I think he was top 10. Let me check that before I just jump right in and say that. So actually, no, it's a good thing I checked myself. 16th overall. in 2019, but a guy who going into the draft was viewed as somebody who could be a top 10 pick, and kind of slid down the draft boards in some cases there. But their roster moves as well. Their trades that they picked up throughout the season as well. Picking up Manson, picking up Cogliano, picking up Nico Sturm, into this offseason, signing Darcy Kemper and net. Save for one game, Darcy Kemper had a pretty darn good Stanley Cup final.
I agree. I was the first one to look at myself and be like, well, I got proven wrong by saying he's just a guy, because now he's maybe just a guy, but he's a guy that has a Stanley Cup. So,
yep, he's got his name on there, and they're not taking that one.
He had a hell of a performance in the last two games, in Game 5 and 6, even though they lost in Game 5.
Yeah, this series had just about everything that you could hope for. It had the late game and overtime heroics. It had goaltending performances of absolute brilliance. It had
offenses.
Yeah, it had potent offenses, and then at times unbelievable defense. Everything that you could really want, except for a Game 7. I was so hoping that we could get one more game of that chaos, that beautiful chaos, really make Colorado sweat that one out, but also to give them a chance to win it at home as well. Yes, they had the chance to win it at home in Game 5. They didn't have it there, but it would have been kind of a cool moment if Colorado takes a Game 7 at home in front of the home fans.
That is another privilege to be able to watch winning it at home. I mean, winning it in general, like if I'm an Avs fan and I know this feeling, I'm sitting there like,
look at you, your team with multiple Stanley Cup wins in your lifetime. Must be nice.
I'm just saying. Just saying. It's fun. You want to win at home, but at the same time, when you're sitting there nearly going into cardiac arrest during every game after Game 4, not even after Game 4, pretty much the whole series, you don't really care if it's at home or away. The party will come home regardless.
I don't care if they play the game in Tajikistan. Like, I do not care as long as the Wild are the ones winning.
I don't think that's actually a country. You just made that up.
It is. It's a country. It is. Look it up.
I don't want to do that. I'm sure you're right. I just wanted to try and make you look dumb.
Good luck.
But, dude, now it cannot be like you're talking about, like how they're built for sustained success. But I mean, and it already shows like their dominance this entire playoffs, let alone in the final two. Like, you beat the defending champs in 6. Like, that obviously 6 is a normal number to win the Stanley Cup in, but they were the defending champs. I can say were now. They were the defending champs. They were on their way to attempting to tie the playoff series win streak at it is 18 series, I believe, or 19 series by what is that? The Islanders, I believe, or the Oilers?
Well, yeah, because the Islanders had the 4 straight cups from 1980 to 83.
So yeah, it was exactly, that's it. The 80 to 83 Islanders. So they still hold the record, but the Lightning came
right in terms of number of rounds.
Yeah, the Lightning came close. The Lightning came close, but had their streak snapped at 11. But they look. I don't want to say that after they won Game 5, I was a little nervous. I feel like everyone might have been, because it's like, oh no, like their backs are up against the wall. They got punched in the mouth, and they're like, no. We are the Kings for a reason. You will not do that to us. And they did that in Game 5, but realistically, it wasn't like they came out and just said like, no, that's not going to happen, and dominated. They barely won the game in the last minutes. So it's.
We got a comment here too from Spencer Davis. Anyone else cash an Avs futures bet? Got plus 500 in February. Nicely done, Spencer.
Honestly, plus 500 is damn good in February. Like, they were getting crowned at the beginning of the season, let alone in February. Like,
that could have been that stretch where with Florida and Carolina kind of just jockeying at the top, Colorado might have slid down a little bit there. Catch them in a losing streak. I mean, honestly, so much of betting, especially when you're placing a futures bet, is cashing in with the odds at the right time.
Yeah. And
you kind of sit and study and wait. Avs at plus 500. That's a heck of a hit. Well done.
That's a beautiful hit. you don't have to share it if you don't want to. I'm curious what you bet, or what your winnings, but what you bet, what your bet was. You don't have to, but it makes me think too. Like, this is like the first time in a little while where like I sat here and was like, the Avs are going to probably win the Stanley Cup. I know my picks when we started the playoff picks switched that, but at the beginning of the season, I'm thinking like, man, what if I would have put a futures bet on that just right at the beginning of the regular season? Like, I probably would have had him at like plus probably 800 to 1,000 maybe.
We'll talk about this a little later in the show, but be thinking about who might be on those odds for next season.
Absolutely.
And you can certainly put a bet down there. But to your point, yeah, just a dominant run from the Avs, 16-4 record.
Took my stats.
Yeah, okay, fine. You go ahead and say them.
Joking. Well, so no, go ahead. What'd you say? Go ahead.
It's only 25. Well, still $25. That's still not bad.
Oh, did he comment? I wasn't looking.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so that means you bet what, like $2?
Like $5.
$5.
Yeah.
Hey,
still good.
It's $5.
Yeah.
You made that $5 back probably in the next hour of working or something, or
that's
not hour.
More than I made sports betting this year. It's not legal in Ohio, so I got to wait one more year, and you better believe January 1st I'm marching down to whatever sports book and placing a futures bet. You know it's going to happen.
Do you want to when you come?
He said he bet 25.
25. Ah, okay.
Ooh. Okay, there you go. So that's a good hit.
That's a solid hit then. No, yeah. Hey, man, they're building a sports book right at Wrigley Field. Come visit. Come on. We'll go in there, watch some games, play some future bets.
You know, I'm trying to think because I probably have sometime soon a trip coming up to Chicago somewhere.
I would hope so.
I'll be in Illinois. I'll actually be at this time next week. I'll be at Paradise Casino in Peoria.
It's a solid casino.
Yeah, so
very solid casino.
We'll see if maybe
I'll point out some machines. I'll point out some machines for you to go on that were kind of hidden when I was there. But no, to your point, like you said, you mentioned they went 16-4, and I believe I was watching ESPN and they mentioned the stat. I might have counted wrong. I believe they are one of, I think it was 7 or 8 teams to go 16-4, or over the last however many years it was. So it's not common.
Yeah, it's
two sweeps, 2 game 6s. Like, that's pretty dominant, man.
Yeah, it was really an impressive run,
and a plus 30 goal differential in the playoffs. That's regular season numbers.
Well, think about this: over the course of, you if you assume wins and loss, if each of that is 1. You have a plus 12 goal differential if you're winning and losing games by 1.
Yeah.
Let's say all of those wins are wins by 2, but the losses are still lose by 1. That gets you to a plus 20 goal differential over the course of playoffs. So the fact that they're at plus 30 is really an extra sign of just how good they were. Not only being able to light up the scoreboard and put up all those goals, but also to not be conceding those goals on the backhand. This Avs team is a well-oiled machine, and I think we saw that in the playoffs. It didn't matter, they beat St. Louis in 6, they beat Tampa Bay in 6. Those series, they were a little bit tougher, but they matched and adjusted their strategies to what those teams were doing. And then when they had Nashville and Edmonton, Nashville, a team that traditionally very stout defensively, but with injuries, and in particular an injury to UC Saros in net, and having to play Connor Ingram, Nashville had no chance in that series.
They legit looked.
Edmonton putting Mike Smith in net in the conference final. I mean, that wasn't going to win them a series. But still, the expectation this season was that Colorado was going to be the Stanley Cup champions. And it's been a while since we saw a team that really was crowned in the preseason as, they're the champ this year. You can make sort of an argument for Tampa Bay last year as a team to go back-to-back, but it doesn't happen very often that a team is the preseason favorite by a wide margin and continues to march through the season and then go through and actually go win the thing.
You're right. Typically something goes wrong. Something goes wrong. They don't deliver. Hell, it's happened to Colorado the last, I would say they were one of the few crowned the last probably 2 years. Obviously, last year, people were saying, obviously Tampa go for the three-peat. They repeated. How do you bet against them? But again, if you're in the top 5, like you lived up to the expectations, and they finally got over that hump of being the Toronto Maple Leafs of the second round, and instead of just settling right then and there, they're like, cool, we made it past the second round, we're good to go now. No, they were like, no. I mean, they went for it all. They got it, and they got it. I'm not gonna say easily, but I mean, we talked about it, right? They had a decently easy route in the Western Conference, and obviously facing the 2-time defending champs, who are gonna literally put everything they have out there to try and be the first three-peat of the Cap era. I mean, that obviously was their biggest challenge, but even still, even some of those games, it looked easy for them. They took a 3-1 lead. You take a 3-1 series lead, like, you're clearly you're doing well, obviously, but it's not
only that, but having the second biggest shutout victory in Stanley Cup final history.
Dude, right? Like, you don't see 7-0 games in the finals.
No, and it's not an excuse, but a fact that we have to bring up. Tampa Bay was playing through some pretty serious injuries. Obviously, Braden Point being out was a major blow to what Tampa Bay was able to do offensively. We saw Eric Chernak get hurt, and then they had to go down to 5 defensemen. And basically, by the end of Game 6, they were pretty much playing 4D by the end of that one.
Right.
Kucherov was hurt. Anthony Cirelli is hurt, AC joint there. He needs surgery.
We might find out Vasilevsky had something going on.
Yeah, and just looking at by sheer virtue of how many games they've played over the last runs to 3 straight Cup finals. We've talked about it on the show before. They played so much hockey. And not only that, but with the condensed season of the pandemic year, where they cut the season down, but then they had the bubble for the playoffs and then turned around. They won the Cup in August, and then they're playing again in October. That was not a lot of time to recover and recoup. They went back and won it again, and then we're right back for this season as well. So I hope they're able to enjoy some time off this summer and rest and get healthy. But Tampa Bay was kind of held together by duct tape by the end of the series.
I mean, it's true. Again, and then they'll tell you, like, they're not going to use any of that as an excuse. But
no, absolutely,
you're right. I mean, that's why nobody's sitting here saying, like, wow, some fluke of a back-to-back champ. Like, nobody's saying that.
No, Tampa proved they were the defending champs for a reason, getting back there again this season. They're
right.
I can't stand people on social media who are like, oh, well, because of the pandemic years and the shortened seasons and everything, like, those were easier cups for Tampa. No, they were not easier cups for Tampa Bay to win. In fact, I would argue they were harder.
I was just about to say it was probably, like, I understand the traveling puts wear and tear on you, and that wears you out as time goes on, and that's going to tire you. I would argue being in that bubble was probably way more of a toll on them, especially mentally. Like, okay, there's this crazy pandemic going on that none of us have ever known in our lifetime. Like, what the hell is going on outside of this bubble? Oh, by the way, we can't leave. We can't see our families. We can't even like when you go home. Doesn't matter if you're a home ice or away advantage. When you get to go home for those 2 games, game 3 or 4, game 1 and 2, whatever. When you get to go home, like, you can at least go see your family. You can go sleep in your own bed, not in a hotel bed, or hell, not even a hotel. I'm assuming they had hotels, but who knows? Maybe they had friggin' beds set up in where they play against
They had
Toronto.
hotels, but I mean,
but like,
you can't at that point. You couldn't really spend time around your teammates off the ice. You were in the hotel and you were in your room pretty much. I mean, it was
Plus,
the mental toll of that, I think, is honestly tougher than what it was this year when they could travel and they could go home and be with family, like to that point. Exactly.
Absolutely. And then shortened season-wise, it's a shortened season. I get it. That's less games to be played, so that's a little less wear and tear. Not really in hockey, though.
But they were also playing them in a quicker time, too.
Right. They were playing them consecutively way more often, not to mention it's less games for you to get your shit together as a team. If you're struggling, well, you're screwed. So that's why it's obviously much tougher. That was much more of a grind because it's like, well, look, there's way much less of a margin for error here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, the people that want to discredit that are just the pissed off. You're probably seeing a lot of long-term salty Dallas Stars or Montreal Canadiens fans on Twitter.
I mean, Montreal just had hot goaltending from Carey Price, literally carrying that team to the final. Mm-hmm. And he was so heavily injured and still playing so well. Mm-hmm. But he missed all of this season because of the injury that he was playing through.
To me, the Canadiens of last year, I know this isn't the point here, I just want to get this out there. The Canadiens of last year, not going to discredit their run, but they were the New York Rangers of 2014. The Rangers...
Even the Rangers of 2020, to a degree, they got into the playoffs and then turned around and won the number 1 overall pick because they were like the 24th seed,
right?
Of that when they had the playoff bubble.
But I don't even mean But I'm saying like they got into right. They got like the Rangers in 2014 got into the playoffs, got to the Cup final off the back of Henrik Lundqvist. And some good defense, some good defense, obviously, and then met with the Kings, who just were like, "No, you're nothing," and dominated them.
Well, and the Kings, another example. When the Kings won their first cup, they were an 8 seed, but again, goaltending from Jonathan Quick, and they're through. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah, to this day, I still use that as an example of why the NHL playoffs are the most unpredictable. Although baseball is kind of a rival there too, but.
Well, it's up there. It depends solely on how you're able to stack your pitching throughout for baseball. Like, I mean, that's huge. But hockey, so many of the little things can go right or go wrong. And that's usually what it comes down to. It's not, how many goals you scored in the regular season. If that was the case, we would have had Florida winning it all. It's not who allowed the fewest goals. I think that would have been Colorado, maybe?
That would have been Colorado.
But don't quote me on that.
It was either Colorado or maybe Carolina.
Let's go to NHL.com and just go take a...
While you do that, like it's the same reason why, like, I'll see I'm going to call them fake fans. Like all these, you'll see these Blackhawks fans, like after we got, after the, wheels started to fall off, but we were still kind of like pushing for the playoffs. You have all the people that are like, oh, woe is me. Like, we're screwed. Nothing's ever. And it's like, dude, all you need to do is get in. That's it. You get in, you have a chance. Like, you are in the dance. You can make waves. It doesn't matter.
Are you ready for a stat that's going to blow your mind?
I'm ready for my mind to be blown.
Well, first off, the team that allowed the fewest goals in the regular season was the Carolina Hurricanes.
Woo! Let's go!
There were 8 teams that allowed fewer goals than the Colorado Avalanche, and 2 of those teams did not make the playoffs this year. The Vancouver Canucks and New York Islanders each allowed 1 fewer goal in the regular season than Colorado, did not make the playoffs.
Wow.
So, again, if it's the most
all season long,
you
can lose games all season long, 2-1.
Pretty much. I mean, for the Islanders, their goal differential on the season was -2.
That's bad.
Yeah, but again,
like as in bad, like they didn't make the playoffs.
It's bad they didn't make the playoffs, but they had no offense and they played in a powerhouse division. They still managed to put up like 86 or 88 points, something like that, which in most seasons is pretty respectable. But because of how inflated everything at the top of the Eastern Conference was this year, first time in NHL history that all 8 playoff teams on one side of the bracket have finished above 100 points, at or above 100 points in the regular season standings.
Yep.
It wasn't in the cards this year to get in with fewer than 100 points. It wasn't even for 90. Wasn't going to be good enough this year. So, Joel, let me ask you this. What was your favorite part of the Stanley Cup final?
Oh, man. while I think about that, I can say what my favorite after part of the Stanley Cup final was, and that was the combination of three things. One, the cup getting dented already.
Took all of 5 minutes.
So yeah, exactly. And it wasn't even like a drunk moment. They were just going to take the picture, and he slipped on the slippery surface that they played on for 6 games. But I mean, it was awesome. Nazem Kadri's post game interview of like to all the people who said I was a liability in the playoffs, kiss my ass. Like I love hilarious. That. I love every moment of that comment. Comment of Nathan McKinnon saying like, I don't know, Sid was the drunkest or I was the drunkest at all of Sid's Stanley Cup playoff or Stanley Cup parties. So I hope he's the drunkest at mine now. But actual gameplay, like, oh man, I feel like it was just watching Cale Makar.
Mm-hmm. Like your Conn Smythe winner.
You watching Cale Makar win the Conn Smythe, and it was an obvious choice, and well done on your part. You called that one right away.
Yeah, as soon as I figured out Colorado's winning the series, how are you not going Cale Makar?
No, I totally.
I said that before the series too. I said if Colorado wins,
that's what I'm saying.
Cale Makar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you called it right away. I wanted to go different. If I thought McKinnon showed up, but Makar was just so damn good. Like, and I mean, dude, he's already in the annals of history now, and he's 23 years old. He's the only player to ever win the Hobey Baker, the Calder Trophy, the Conn Smythe, the Stanley Cup, and the Norris all. And he's only 23 years old, and he's the first one to ever do that.
Yeah, it's crazy the success that he has seen at every level. Also, not even going to try and be shameless about this. Didn't win a collegiate national championship because of the UMD Bulldogs. I just had to get that one out there.
Oh, okay.
I had to say that one just because I could.
Where did Makar go again?
He was Boston.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, but he was just so much fun, dude. Every time he touched the puck, like to me, I mean, if I'm comparing it to my own team, like it's every time Patrick Kane touches the puck, you're paying attention. As soon as I saw Makar hit the ice, I was all eyes. I was straightforward. I wanted to see what the hell he was going to do next.
I said the wrong one. It wasn't Boston. It was UMass.
Oh, well, whatever.
Yeah. It is one of those schools out east.
Same area.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I think that was I think ultimately watching him, I mean, it was, I would say like a 7-0 win from the team that I wanted to win the cup, but like, as exciting as that is, like 7-0 game, like you made the back-to-back champs look like an AHL team, like.
Well, and seeing how frustrated Nikita Kucherov was at the end of Game 6, the stick breaks. He goes over to the bench. The equipment manager doesn't have a stick for him, and he starts chucking his he was heated, but that's not the type of reaction that a 2-time defending champion gets. Like, you play with more poise and more composure than that to get to that point, which that to me told me that beyond just that instance of wanting to win so badly and having your stick break in that moment, like for me, that was Colorado had so heavily agitated them throughout the series. And you saw it with all of the pushing and shoving after the whistles. You saw Ryan McDonough take an uncharacteristic boarding penalty that frankly should have been a 5 in a game. And if it's not the cup final, it would have been.
Totally agree.
That was a frustrated Tampa Bay team. And we have not seen them get frustrated to that level in a long time.
I mean, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, but they were going to be, I think we all knew from the get-go. And again, I'm sorry if the truth hurts here to Stars fans and Canadians fans, but the Avs were the real deal, and they were going to be the first true legitimate challenge in a team that the Lightning have faced. And they showed it, and they proved it every single night. even in losing efforts. Like, yeah, they got killed 6-2, but that was, right after that they had just gotten killed 7-0, right? Like,
Right.
to
And
me,
how
that's a
did they respond?
response. Right, exactly. That's a response I would expect from a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion winning team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's exactly what they did. I'm curious, what was your favorite part? Was
Well,
it the same
I
thing?
was gonna say, if you didn't say it, I was gonna say
Oh,
watching Cale Makar's
okay.
breakout on.
Well, look at that. We agree. Cale Makar
We
made us
do.
agree.
I think my favorite soundbite as well coming out of it was
Oh,
Emily Kaplan asking Gabriel Landeskog. The NHL is notoriously a copycat league. What do you think other teams are going to do to try and replicate the journey and the success that Colorado had this year? And Landeskog pauses for a moment and kind of thinks about it and then goes, find a Cale Makar somewhere. Like that. It was just the greatest soundbite. Like, he's like, that's really
find the lie.
that's what it took. I mean,
find the lie.
yeah, no lies detected whatsoever.
Oh,
It's amazing to me that Cale Makar went 4th overall in his draft year too.
Yeah.
You look at how good he has become. At lowest, he's a top 5 player in this league. I think right now, for me, he's probably number 2 behind McDavid, is where I have him ranked. And
I would be right there with you on that one.
And there's going to be debate over who's number 1 on that list, just by virtue of how different a position and how different of a demand they have to their games. Like, McKinnon is your game-breaking offensive threat all the way around. Cale Makar has dramatically different defensive responsibilities than a forward. It's impossible to compare the two. But as far as, is he the best defenseman in the game right now? Probably
Yes.
so.
I don't think it's an argument at this point.
I like Victor
personally,
Hedman a lot, and he's probably the only one that I would consider for that top spot. But to me, it's Makar.
I don't think there's really an argument anymore. Like, and I'm not just saying because he has a cup or a Conn Smythe, but it definitely. I think there was he was starting to pull away with it, probably from the minute the playoffs started. He was starting to pull away with that title, but I mean, he sealed the deal, man. I think, and I mentioned this. I didn't want to like take too much time on it when we had been talking about it. I just kind of wanted to bring it out there. But we talked about that argument of the best defenseman in the league right now has pretty much been over the last couple of years between Makar and Hedman. And I mentioned it, we're going to get to see it. And now we have seen it in the Stanley Cup final. We basically get to see them go head to head for virtually that title, or figuratively that title. And hey, Makar came out on top, man. So and he came out with the Conn Smythe. Even if he wouldn't have won the Conn Smythe, I would have still said I think he gets the edge. But he came out with the playoff MVP. Like, there's no question that Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the league. Now we'll see. Does he regress next season? Because obviously you have now. Do we call it a regression or do we call it an exhale? Right. It'll depend on what we see from him next year.
Yeah, because I mean, his season this year was remarkable. Just a goal-scoring machine from the blue line, scoring at a rate that we haven't seen since Ray Bourque. In the 90s. Like, it's been a long time since we saw a defenseman have a season like what Cale Makar just had.
Maybe
and even more than that, we had Roman Josi putting up more points.
Right.
But Josi didn't have the defensive numbers that Makar did.
Right. Exactly. And personally, I was pumped that Makar got the Norris because they finally broke away from what they had been leaning towards, of that whole like, well, you're the defenseman that put up the most points, you win the Norris.
Mm-hmm.
They finally broke away from that, and rightfully so. And I think all those voters are probably sitting there like, yep, I was right.
So we talk about Makar versus Hedman.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to these differences. This season with all stats at 5-on-5. Makar had fewer penalties committed. Mm-hmm. He had more penalties drawn, more total points, goals, primary assists, rebounds created, better Corsi for percentage, better expected goal percentage, fewer high danger chances against, fewer high danger goals against, more high danger goals for, and a higher on ice save percentage than Hedman.
I mean, I'm sorry.
When you look at those numbers, I don't see how there's a comparison right now.
I was about to, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you look at that, and if you have a screenshot of that of some sort, I would tweet that out, because the caption writes itself of like, what argument do you have?
Yeah,
I'd love to hear it, because it's not going to make sense.
Yeah. Stats, normalizing stats to 5-on-5 is the great equalizer for all skaters, really,
Right.
is what it comes down to. And being in that position when those 5-on-5 numbers come into play, it really separates just how good Cale Makar is.
I know this. We'll talk about this in off-season episodes, but I think maybe he has an exhale. But dude, I could see him going back-to-back Norris. I could see it. I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna give him his roses. I'm gonna call he pulls a Duncan Keith. Duncan Keith didn't win the Conn Smythe in 2013, but he won the Cup, and then the very next year he won the Norris.
I'm going to take a look and see if they have futures odds up for next season. It looks like they just have, at the moment, for futures, NHL draft and team futures for next year. Who's going to win? Which, by the way, in case you were curious, the Colorado Avalanche are the favorite to win next year's Cup. They are currently plus 400. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in third at plus 900. So,
who was behind Colorado again? I forgot.
Behind Colorado, but ahead of Tampa Bay?
Yes. Wait, hold on. Let me guess. That would be...
You're going to be surprised by this one.
I actually read it when they first released them, but I forgot, so I might not be that surprised. Oh, God, who was it, man? This is going to... I have a guess, but I feel like it's not it because I'm thinking of somebody else, but is it the Rangers?
It is not the Rangers. Who... well, more on that in a minute. Go ahead.
Is it... Oh, Carolina?
Not Carolina.
Oh, fuck. Who was it? I don't remember. I don't want to take too much time guessing.
It was the Toronto Maple Leafs, the team that hasn't won in the first round of the playoffs. In the salary cap era, they have not, since the 04-05 lockout, they have not won a playoff series, and they have the second best odds. Making that even more intriguing is the team with the fourth best odds, the Florida Panthers, also haven't won a playoff series since the mid-90s.
What?
Yeah. Or no, wait, no, they did this year. That's right. Never mind.
They broke that this year.
They did break that this year. Okay, one playoff series win since the 90s. The mid-90s.
I got you. Let's say I'm not disagreeing with you, man. I don't. Vegas has to play it safe though when they release those early futures.
And speaking of Vegas, they and Carolina are tied at plus 1,400 for Stanley Cup odds next year. Minnesota Wild plus 1,800. So the Chicago Blackhawks. Do you want to know the number?
I think it's like plus 15,000 or something.
Well, better than that. It's plus 10,000.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry.
Plus 15 is the Montreal Canadiens.
Right.
And the Arizona Coyotes. This is the saddest I've ever seen. Plus 50,000.
Hey, man, you know what? $5 on a plus 50,000 bet, I'd do it.
It's throwing away your money, but
it's throwing away your money. But by that off chance it hits,
if by some miracle an NHL team moves into the 5,000 seat college arena and just happens to pop off, if all 9, I think it's 9 of their picks through the first 2 rounds all make the camp out of roster, and suddenly they've got a team. Their offseason, they're looking at, I believe, heading into it with $50 million in cap space.
A lot of money to spend.
I mean, might as well throw your money. Okay, so it's 7 picks through the first 2 rounds this year. 8 through the first 3 is what the number is there. And yes, $50 million in projected cap space. Looking at who they might re-sign. This isn't supposed to be the Arizona show. They have maybe about 4 guys here that I think they might re-sign.
Dude, do you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna trade away their next 7 years worth of first round picks to both Toronto and Chicago to bring in Austin Matthews and Patrick Kane.
I hate so much that you said that. I hate with every fiber of my being. I hate that you said that.
I hate it too. I'm making the joke, and yet on the inside, I'm like, no, my boy Kaner isn't going anywhere. No.
He is
Shut
in the
up.
last year of his deal
Shut
next
up.
year, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Shut up.
So he and Taves could both be on the move.
No.
Well, let me ask you this way.
We're gonna look. All I know is that if it happens, and that Kane, DeBrincat, and Taves are all like traded this offseason or something like that, like we're gonna have a Pod Snipe Celly episode with just me crying. That's the episode.
I'll need a picture of you crying before that so I can use it for the thumbnail. We can blow it up all over social media.
That works.
Anyway, what we'll do is maybe I'll superimpose the image of you crying over the image that you share on my birthday every year of me in a dejected pose wearing a Blackhawks jersey, and we'll just put your face on that picture. Maybe that's what we'll do.
I mean, that could work.
Yeah. We got time. We got time to figure it out.
Anywho,
the clock is on. The clock is ticking for the pending Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane trade. Not to mention potentially an Alex DeBrincat trade.
Okay, all right. Not this episode, please. Jesus.
We'll save that for probably about 2 or 3 episodes from now because we got to get. We have our draft preview show next week, which tease for that one. That is going to be a very fun show.
With how not deep it is it going to last 5 minutes? I'm just kidding.
But Joe, I want to ask you, what team is in the best position to dethrone the Avs next season?
That is honestly very tough. But I like it because that's the whole point. Make it early because it's going to obviously depend on moves that are made by what teams. Right off the bat, I would say the Rangers. I think they really did have they have what it takes to make another run to the conference final, and this time actually make it to the Stanley Cup final next year. As long as they make the right moves, but again, this isn't about the ifs. This is just straight up. We're not talking about the ifs in this question. But they're they're probably going to stay fairly similar to what they were this past year. And obviously, like I said, we'll see if they make certain moves. But I think if anyone's going to dethrone the Avs in hell, I could see the Avs being the next Tampa, being the next back-to-back champs. If I'm gonna preface my answer with the sub answer here, I don't know if anyone can, but maybe that's recency bias. But I think the Rangers are at least out of I think the Rangers are the most well equipped to maybe dethrone and upset them.
The one thing that I could see working against the Rangers is that right now they have 9 forwards, 5D, and 1 goalie under contract for next season, and just under 12 mil in cap to play with. So they can do some tinkering here, but some of these guys that they're going to need to re-sign, like they're going to re-sign Capo Caco. They are going to have to figure out what they're going to do with Ryan Strome, but I think they need to pay him. What do you do for your backup goaltender? Because you can't play Shesterkin in all 82 games of the regular season. Georgiev is a restricted free agent. Do you try to bring somebody in on like a 2x2 type of deal, get a backup goaltender that way?
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Wouldn't hate it. For the Rangers, that is a move that would make a lot of sense. I would hate to see him leave Minnesota. He definitely made a big impact while he was in Minnesota, even if only just in that short time to kind of shake up the culture of the team a little bit. I want him back in Minnesota next season, but
screw you. I want him back here.
The Rangers offer more. He's not. No. Be serious now.
Hey,
we got 15 minutes of show left. You can tell those kind of jokes after the show. I think for me, this is really tough. I
You asked the question.
I did, and I was gonna say the Rangers, and then I started thinking about that a little bit. I don't know. Like I do, Colorado is clearly the team that I think right now is in the best position to win the Cup next year, and the
Right.
odds reflect that.
But that's not the question.
But that's not the question. No.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, Rangers plus 2,000. That's again some value there.
Yeah.
Maybe Carolina.
See. I'm with you.
Maybe Tampa Bay. I don't think Florida, but only because Florida's going to have a really interesting offseason ahead of them. And I think after what they did with getting rid of a decent chunk of their coaching staff, not promoting Andrew Brunette to be the full-time coach and removing the interim label, those are the types of moves that will lose the locker room.
I don't know.
They can
but that's a little bit of a overstatement, I think. I don't know about lose the locker room. Maybe affect it.
It can make it harder for the incoming coach to gain the respect of the players.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not going to just lose the lot. These players aren't going to look at their new head coach and just be like, "No, screw you. We don't respect you." That's not how that works. If it was now, obviously that would be how it worked if it was like somebody controversial. But
yeah, they didn't go bring in Pete DeBoer, so if there's that.
Yeah, that's
well. They didn't go bring in Mike Babcock.
Oh God! No, gee, no. I think that ship has sailed for every team.
I hope so. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just to be different than you, I am going to say Carolina. Again, the team that allowed the fewest goals in the regular season this year, played through some injuries down the stretch, and I look at their core of players. Seeing how frustrated Nathan McKinnon was after not being able to get out of the second round for most of his career up until this point.
Yeah.
That was his soundbite that was making the waves at the end of last season when they got knocked out. Looking at guys like Sebastian Aho, like Andrei Svechnikov, like Teuvo.
Yep.
That is a team that is hungry for more playoff success than they've had. And that team also hasn't made it past the second round. So that's a team that I think could be really hungry and in a good position to win. I do need to take a look quick at what their pending free agents are. So they do have some guys that they're going to have to try and figure out. Marty Nietzsche, Max Domi, Nino Niederreiter, Vincent Trocheck, Ethan Bear, even the much maligned Tony DeAngelo. You have to figure out what you're going to do there with Jake Gardiner coming back from long-term injured reserve as well. He's got a modified no trade. Does he take DeAngelo's spot? Given his injury history, can you rely on that? I think those are fair questions to ask. I certainly hope that Gardner comes back and is healthy and plays well, but that's the risk that they have to assess. So I would say Carolina, but I think it's really, really tough at this point. Not knowing free agency, not knowing the draft, all things being equal, it's hard to go against Colorado next year.
Yeah. If this question was who's going to win the Cup next year, I mean, I'm
if that's the question, it's probably
it's the Avalanche, man. It's not even just recency bias. It is to an extent a copycat league. They're copying what the Avalanche. They've been copying what kind of the Avalanche were trying to do. And Joey, our good friend of the show, brought up this point that the Tampa Bay Lightning were copying the old gold standard, the Hawks, of what they did, and it led Tampa to that. And now Colorado's been following suit of the Hawks a little bit, but Tampa too. I think it's like a passing of a baton type of thing.
I mean, you find something that works and you stick with it and you commit to it and you buy in. But I mean, Colorado has their true number one center in Nathan McKinnon. They have their number one D-man in Cale Makar. They built for size. They built for speed. They have four lines that can score. They had guys stepping up in big situations. They built through the draft. They really did everything organizationally the right way, and that's what Tampa Bay did.
They have a goalie who can step up. I will apologize to
Put
Darcy
some
Kemper for
respect
calling
on
him a
Darcy
guy.
Kemper's name. That man is a cup champion.
He is.
Love him, the milkman.
He absolutely is.
Cale Makar off to a Hall of Fame start to his career. Certainly wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there. And with just a few minutes left in the show here, we do need to talk about the Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2022.
A lot of big names on this list.
Some big names on the list. Herb Carnegie goes in as builder. Riikka Salonen, one of the most decorated women's hockey players of all time. The most 7-time medalist at IIHF Worlds, the oldest woman to win an Olympic medal in hockey. Really one of the most decorated players out there in the women's game. And then on the men's side, you have Daniel and Henrik Sedin going in, Roberto Luongo going in. Joel, for you as a Blackhawks fan, 3 former Vancouver Canucks going in 1 year. This has to be probably your least favorite Hall of Fame class in history. And then you also throw Daniel Alfredsson in there. Some interesting playoff history with Vancouver and Chicago. Joel, I just want to get your reaction when this list was announced yesterday. Tell me what's going through your mind when you're seeing Sedin, and Luongo all going into the Hall in the same year.
I mean, I think back to at the time would that be high school self, running around like you're reading Chicago Sun-Times when we were playing them in the 09-10 playoffs, the 10-11 playoffs, the 08-09 playoffs when Patrick Kane got his hat trick and put himself on the map. If I think to my high school self, I'm like, yeah, the human sieve that is Roberto Luongo and the Sedin sisters. Like, that's my high school self. But like, realistically, you look back on it, and yeah, I hated playing against them because they played us well. But realistically, those were not other than Luongo. Back then, I really did hate Roberto Luongo. Yes, but I just despised him because he was there were times where he was a whiny little bitch during those playoff series. The Sedins, on the other hand, they're damn good. Just put respect on their name. They're damn good. That was pretty much it. That was just it's like the Sidney Crosby effect. Like, I really don't like you, but damned if I don't respect you type of thing. Or I guess Aaron Rodgers, although I don't really even like him anymore either. Or I don't really respect him much anymore either. Yeah. But it is what it is. I'd say, like, hey, we came out on top. I don't care. Good for them. They earned it. And Roberto Luongo is what? 4th all time in wins?
Yep, 4th all time in wins, top 10 all time in save percentage, 1,000+ games in his career. But amazingly, the thing that I look at with the 4 NHLers who went in on this class, Sedin, Luongo, Alfredsson, it combined 0 Stanley Cups in that group. And now I know Stanley Cups are a team accolade, but still, that generally becomes a tiebreaker in those situations, especially when there's not necessarily the individual hardware to go with it.
That's true.
Roberto Luongo did not win a Vezina trophy.
Nope.
The Sedins, each of them won a Hart and an Art Ross. They were 3-time All-Stars. You look at their international impact on the game, representing Sweden, an Olympic gold and an Olympic silver, 2-time silver, 2-time bronze. Oh, wait, no, hang on. That's Alfredsson. I'm looking at I got my wrong notes up here. What was it here? Sorry. So for the Sedins, Olympic gold in 2006, and then World Championships, a gold in 2013, and then bronze very early in 99 and 01 in their careers. Gold at the European Junior Championships in 98. So from an international impact on the game, which is what it is. It's not the NHL Hall of Fame. It's the Hockey Hall of Fame. you look at what they bring there, and Sedin, and Alfredsson are 3 of the top 5 all-time Swedish point scorers. I'm struggling. In
need me to take
history.
You're usually our stat guy.
Yeah, normally I'm doing great. I'm struggling. I got allergies going, and that might be my 2 minutes for roughing.
You got the sniffles.
How bad this allergy season has been. But Herb Carnegie is a builder, absolutely deserving. Riikka Salonen, absolutely deserving. I wish we had some more time left in the show, because this class, to me, missed out on some really big names. And looking at the names that did go in, I'm a little surprised at who is in. For me, Roberto Luongo, yes, lock should be in. Sedin's, I could understand an argument for not putting them in. I'm happy for them. I'm glad they're in. Faces of the league for a while. I'll never forget when they had the commercial where the guys are sitting in their basement drinking beer, and the one guy runs in all happy. Guys, you'll never guess what I just did. I got us some Swedish twins. And the Swedish twins come in, and it's the Sedin brothers. They're expecting them to be like Swedish supermodels, and it's the Sedins, and then they start doing this little, super funny commercial. Go to YouTube, look it up. Commercial probably, it wouldn't run if they ran it today, but at the time, funny in its time. I could understand an argument against those two being in the Hall.
I'm with you, honestly, and that's not the all-time Blackhawks fan speaking in me. Like, to me, obviously, we know Stanley Cups are a team award, but it helps, man. When you have a Stanley Cup on your resume, that is yours too. It's a team effort, sure, but it is yours, so that's obviously part of it. But like you said, like it's all the the hardware too. Like, obviously we know Henrik won, the Hart and the Art Ross won, in what was that, 2009, or 09-10. So he's got one of those at least, and those are obvious. Like, you win one of those, you're putting yourself in the conversation, right? I mean, it's not exactly a fluke, but Luongo, I'm with you. He's in. When you're in the top 5 of anything in your position, you've automatically given yourself a bid. Whether it's first ballot or not, well, whatever. But regardless, you have a bid, and you should be in if you're top 5 in anything in your position. Alfredsson, I mean, he's 55th all time in the NHL scoring with, what is it, 1127, I think, right? 1,157 points. Sorry.
Yep.
444 goals, 713 assists, 1,246 games played. And you obviously mentioned his, you combine nearly being top 50 in points in the league, along with his Siri thought I was talking to her. You combine that with his international impact. Like, I see it there. I mean, I guess same thing with the Sedins too. Like, they played their whole career for one team. They put up, respectively, Henrik put up 1,070 career points in 1,330 games played. And Daniel was 1,306 games played, and he put up 1,041 points. Like,
still good numbers.
And of course,
normally the 1,000 point, that's kind of one of the, I don't want to call it a precursor, but it's generally
also
players who score 1,000 points have a very good chance at getting into the.
That's the thing. Like, it doesn't get done. I mean, there's
right.
It's just over 100 players that have done it.
Well, and Connor McDavid is already more than halfway there.
I know, right? I also will correct myself too. Daniel did also have an Art Ross in 2010 and 11, but regardless, again, think about back then with points. He got the Art Ross with 104. Like, back then, 104, sure. Today, nah.
Today, that's not going to win you a scoring title. McDavid this year alone had 123, 697 points already in Connor McDavid's career.
Yeah.
Had to get that out there quick.
Hey, that's fine. So, yeah, I memean, I get it. I'm not going to sit here and become that guy who's like, I guess it's the Hall of Very Good, not the Hall of Fame. Like, I can see the argument for them for both Sedins and then Alfredson. I could see the argument for them getting in, but I would also jump on the other side of the fence too and say first, or maybe because this is first ballot for the Sedins, right?
Correct.
Alfredson, it's not.
Alfredson is not. He's been on for a couple of years.
So there you go. Like, I think that's even more of an argument of, look, Alfredson, I think, had it coming at some point. So he had to wait a couple of years. We're talking about the Sedins. Yeah, I could definitely see an argument for how, I don't know how they got first ballot, but at the same time, you mentioned their international impact, and I mean, they're household names in their country. That's kind of, that's enough to maybe push you into first ballot, maybe. So there's both sides. I don't know.
Joel, let me give you 30 seconds here, because we do have to mention as well some other recent news. Blackhawks hired Luke Richardson as their head coach.
Yes.
Because we're nearly out of showtime here, and we still got 2 minutes for roughing yet. Give me 30 seconds. Your thoughts on Luke Richardson as head coach?
I like it. I would say that man's jawline can stand with the best of them. That's for one. But that's a jawline that's got success written all over it. But no, he's got a good resume, man. He was the assistant coach for Montreal for the last 4 seasons, and when he got called up during that Vegas series because Montreal's other assistant coach tested positive for COVID, he got called up and he helped lead them to a victory over the Golden Knights and helped them push their way to the Cup final, man. Like, I like this guy a lot. I mean, hey, we need that guy that's, he's got some grit. He's a player's coach. He's going to make you accountable he's going to make the players accountable, but you're also going to respect him. We needed that back in the locker room. We haven't had that since Coach Q. So I like it a lot. We'll see what happens. He also was with the Islanders before the Canadians as well. So, I mean, hey, man, I think it's a good hire. Nobody's getting Barry Trotz. He's not coaching next year. I think I like it, man. We'll see what happens.
You a week to think on this one.
Oh yeah, I'll have more takes on this.
But I want to know, and I'll put this seed in your mind now. What does success look like for Richardson as a head coach next season for Chicago? But we got to get to 2 minutes for roughing here because we're almost out of show.
That's on you, my man.
It is. Will you be so kind as to put 2 minutes on the clock for me?
I would be so kind as to put 2 minutes on the clock for you. Or I won't. I'm just kidding. All righty. Are you ready?
Let's do this thing.
And go.
So we just spent some time talking about the Hockey Hall of Fame. There are 2 big names that I really felt should have been in this year and did not get in. The first is Alexander McGillney, who has been a snub for several years now. He's been eligible for quite a while. Member of the Triple Gold Club, winning IIHF World's Gold, Olympic Gold, Stanley Cup. He's got all 3. Also won gold at World Juniors. 1,000-point club. We just talked about how, that's kind of a precursor. He was the second Russian-born player to get to 1,000 points. Number 81 on the NHL's all-time points list. Both of his Soviet Union line mates, Sergei Fedorov and Pavel Bure, already in the Hall. Alexander McGillney really opened the way for Russian players to make an impact in the NHL and the influx of Russian talent that we see today, building to superstars like Alex Ovechkin, Kirill Kaprizov, even in goal, Andrei Vasilevsky, Igor Shesterkin. He paved the way for those types of players to come stateside. Literally at World Juniors, he got on a plane in Stockholm and flew to Buffalo to join the Sabres. That's what he did. It was a spy-type move, and that's what he did. It's 76 goals in 77 games in the 92-93 season, 5th highest single season total ever. Really disappointing that he's not in the Hall. But even more disappointing is that Carolyn Ouellette was not included as well. One of only 3 women ever to win 4 Olympic gold medals as a player. 6 first place and 6 second place finishes at IIHF Worlds. 3rd all time at CWNT scoring. A 4-time Clarkson Cup winner with the Canadian Women's Hockey League. The fact that especially when 2 women are allowed to be on the ballot every year and be inducted every year, and for them to only induct one, leaving Carolyn Ouellette off the ballot this year is shameful on behalf of the committee that gets to vote on this sort of thing. It's a shame that neither McGillney nor Ouellette are in. That's what I'm going to do 2 minutes for roughing on tonight. Put them in.
Damn, dude, that was impressive, that fast talking, and I would totally agree with every literal thing you just said.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's really not a whole lot of debate to be had there. Both are deserving of the Hall. Both should be in. It's shameful that both aren't.
I mean, I agree. There's still some voters that need to maybe get out of 1987.
Yeah, really.
That's
what it comes down to.
Realistically. Real quick before we sign off here, I gotta give a quick shout out to the home team, the hometown, the Chicago Wolves, winning the Calder Cup.
I'll clap for that too. AHL champions. I didn't even clap for Colorado off the top of the show, and you just got me to clap for Colorado. So we'll clap Colorado, Stanley Cup champs. We'll clap Chicago. Good year for the Wolves. Goalie earning a 2-game suspension for a double bird salute at the end of the that to me is just funny.
That's amazing.
That's
amazing. That's phenomenal.
That is it for our show for tonight. Thank you for watching, everybody. Thank you to everybody who commented during the show as well. Spencer, congrats again on your win, man. That's a good futures hit, plus 500 on Colorado. We always love to celebrate when people are making picks and winning. And we'll bring back Wednesday night picks, which will be Tuesday night picks next season. We called it the Wednesday night picks all year, and then halfway through we started doing the show on Tuesday. So it'll still be the Wednesday night picks because we're picking the Wednesday night games. But that is it for our show tonight. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow at Twitter at Celly. No show next Tuesday. We're going to do a show Wednesday. We're going to delay because of the holiday and because I'll have a work event on Tuesday night that I'll be traveling for, so I won't get to be there. But next Wednesday, July 6th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, we will do our draft preview show. We'll talk a little bit more about the Blackhawks. I mentioned that for Joel. And then for the Wild as well, what are the Wild going to do? And just enjoy the draft. That's one of my favorite times of the year. I am a prospect junkie, always geeking out over the draft. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and the start of free agency as well. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about for next week's show, but that's it for tonight. In the Green Bets is up next. They might even be on live right now. I think they usually start right at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So they go check them out over on the Sports 2.0 Twitter channel. But that's it for tonight. I'm Dan. He's Joel.
Free Alex Lyon.